there are a lot of changes which are coming into picture from 1st April 2025. So maybe I'll start with a major change, which is the personal income tax changes, as Finance Minister has announced in the budget that up to 12 lakh of income, there will be no income tax. And for salaried class individual, considering that you have standard deduction of 75,000 in addition, so up to 12 lakh 75,000, there is no income tax. So that's a major change which triggers in from 1st April 2025. Okay, so that depends on what brackets you are falling in. As I mentioned in my opening statement, that if your income is less than 12 lakh 75,000 as a salaried employee, after taking into account the standard deduction, you have no taxable income. And in that case, your employer would not withhold any taxes. There would be no TDS, and that of course means better cash flow management for you. But if your income is more than the taxable amount, then of course the tax, your employer would calculate the TDS amount, and then he would equate it into monthly installment and would deduct TDS accordingly. The government has said that there's no TCS which would be applicable on the sale of goods. What used to happen was that if, as a businessman, I used to purchase goods and another party was selling me goods and the price of the goods were more than 50 lakh, as a buyer, I was required to withhold taxes, and as the seller was also need to check whether TCS is applicable on that. So on the same transaction, there was a conflicting TDS and TCS, and there was a confusion which one would apply. So to avoid that confusion, government has removed this TCS on sale of goods, which gets triggered from 1st April 2025. Then there's some beneficial provision on TCS, for example, for overseas tour package program. Earlier, the threshold limit was 7 lakh. Now the threshold limit has been increased up to 10 lakh, and up to 10 lakh, there would be no TCS. Similar liberalized scheme has been brought in for the education institution also. So, for example, if I'm a student and I'm taking loan, the TCS was applicable on certain elements of that loan. Now the government has clarified that if the loan is taken from a specified financial institution, no TCS would apply on that also. Now this is the provision which was already there, and if as an individual or as a businessman I forgot to file my tax return on time, and I also, for example, missed the due date of revised tax return or belated tax return in that matter, so I have an option that I can file a updated tax return. Earlier, the time limit was 2 assessment year from the end of the assessment year concerned, but now this has been extended up to 4 assessment year. So now from 1st April 2025, I can really go back to last 4 assessment year and update my tax return. There is a requirement that I should have some additional income to disclose. In that case, only I can file the updated tax return. The problem was that because they are mostly relying on pension, and they are the person who invest into more secured investment, primarily fixed deposit is something which they invest in. Now, in that case, they were receiving interest income, which ultimately they are not liable to pay taxes in most of the cases because of the low pension income. But because of the requirement of law for TDS, their TDS were withheld, and they could have either obtained a no withholding tax certificate, meaning an additional compliance for them. So government actually wanted to give them some relief, and they have increased the threshold from 50,000 to 1 lakh. What happens with this is up to 1 lakh if any senior citizen is earning interest income. So in that case, no withholding, no TDS would be deducted by bank. This means a better cash flow management for senior citizens. They don't need to now approach the tax office for lower withholding tax certificate, and they can better manage their ends mean by this change of increase in threshold.